Hey, what's up guys, TechTine here and I'm back again with a brand new video. So if this is your first time on the channel, don't make it your last. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video if you want. Also, give me your comments below on the thoughts on the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE. I really want to hear it. Okay, with that being said, today I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and my impressions of the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE kind of 48 hours later. So I've had it a little bit more than 48 hours, but just for the sake of the video, let's just say 48 hours. And I have some interesting thoughts, beginning with the design itself. So basically the material that Samsung decided to use this time around is pretty similar to their flagship material, which is glass and metal. So the back is made out of this kind of glossy glass material, which means essentially it's going to catch fingerprints, so a case is recommended. Obviously, if you want to protect your investment, go ahead and slap a case on the phone anyway. But yeah, so the sides are made out of metal, definitely a premium quality material. Now it does add weight compared to previous generation or even compared to the Galaxy A54, but that's just the price that you pay if you want premium. And also you can tell that there's a distinct camera hump, or triple camera humps in this case, but the camera itself is wrapped with the same kind of metal material that is found on the sides of the phone. So on the right hand side you do have the power button / volume up and down, and they're very clicky, very tactile, very quality buttons overall. And as far as the bottom of the phone, you do get your USB-C 2 microphones as well as your bottom facing speaker, and we're going to take a listen to the speaker quality in a little bit. So it's a bottom facing speaker, and the earpiece also acts as kind of a subwoofer or a secondary speaker if you would. So also on the backhand side, you do get the triple camera setup with a 50 megapixel main sensor. Trust and believe we're going to talk about these cameras later on in the video. But yeah, you get a main sensor, wide angle, as well as a telephoto sensor. Alright, overall as a design, as a package, it definitely matches the same energy of the Galaxy S23 and the same energy of the Galaxy A54. Think of it as kind of the middle child between those two phones. So definitely higher quality material used in the A54, and it's pretty similar to the quality material that they used on the Galaxy S23 FE. Alright, so overall design, it's up to you whether you like it or not. I think it just matches, like I said, the same energy of Samsung phones. So it's definitely a familiar Samsung device. So now let's go ahead and shift the conversation and talk about the front of the phone. So in the front you do get a 6.4 inch 1080p display. So to be a little bit more precise, you do get a 2340 by 1080p at 403 ppi, as well as a peak brightness of 1450 nits, HDR10+, 120Hz refresh rate, dynamic AMOLED, Corning Gorilla Glass 5. So definitely Samsung did not cheap out on this display at all. Higher quality display than the A54 in my opinion. As far as resolution, it's the same, but definitely a solid display overall. If I have a nitpick complaint about it, I would say that the bezels on this phone are slightly larger than the Galaxy S21 FE. So that's also something to think about. And I will be doing a comparison between the S23 FE and the S21 FE, and the S23 FE versus the Galaxy A54. So make sure you're subscribed to stay tuned for that. And overall though, the display, as far as the experience, the resolution, it's nice. It's not a 2K display or anything like that, but I think it plays very well to this phone's advantage since it only has a 4500 milliamp hour battery, but we're going to talk about that later on in the performance segment of the video. As far as your content consumption, like I said, just what you would expect. Very enjoyable experience. You can watch your videos at high resolution, 1080p max, but still high resolution enough. So the AMOLED screens from Samsung have always been top quality. So overall, nothing really to complain about when it comes to this display. So here, take a listen to the speaker right now, and we'll definitely discuss the speaker quality.
And it also provides a better grip. Now, one of the big also changes that happen that may not seem noticeable at first, but the curvature on the sides of the phone are actually much improved. So what that means essentially is that you will have a much better grip with the phone. And like I said, 24 hours later as a user, it made a difference. Yeah, this phone feels really good in the hand as far as the grip, as far as everything else.
So the speaker quality definitely matches the display quality. I think that this is actually a really good speaker for not just for the money that you're paying for this phone, but just for the quality that matches the display. So definitely some solid speakers when it comes from the S23 FE. Back to the camera conversation. So we do get a triple camera setup with your main sensor being 50 megapixels at f1.8, a 12 megapixel ultra wide at 123-degree angle at f2.2 aperture, and a 3 times telephoto lens 8 megapixels at f2.4 aperture. And you can actually record video at up to 8K 24 frames per second, 4K 30 frames per second, 1080p at 30, 60, 120, or 240 frames per second. And if you need really super slow-mo videos, you can do it at 720p at 960 frames per second. Overall, what you can expect from this camera is that you're gonna get some solid pictures. The camera interface is smooth, quick, and really didn't have any problems with it. Now I've only had this phone for like 48 hours right now, so didn't really get to experience what this camera can do. So I'm definitely working on a full dedicated camera review for this phone. But in the time that I spent with it, I did take a couple of pictures, and from the pictures that I've took, it seems to be a solid camera overall. It's not going to be the best camera in the world, but it's definitely going to be a camera that will not disappoint you, I would say 90% of the time. So I'm excited to test out that 8K video recording, and it does have optical image stabilization as well, so that's also something to keep in mind. But overall, the camera experience from my very few days that I've spent with the phone are very positive. Stay tuned for the full camera review. You definitely do not want to miss that. Alright, so now let's switch up and talk about the performance aspects of this phone. As far as the performance, what Samsung did is that they gave us last year's generation and slapped it in this phone. So you do get the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 based on a 4nm architecture, and it is octa-core, where one of the cores are clocked at 2.8 GHz, 3 cores are clocked at 2.5 GHz, and 4 cores are clocked at 1.8 GHz. And as far as your GPU, you do get the Adreno 730, 128GB of storage, 8GB of RAM. There is a 256GB storage option, but overall, from the performance aspect, from the time that I spent with it, it seems to be pretty fast. And I did do, of course, a Geekbench where I got a single core score of 1711 and a multi-core score of 4102. To give us kind of a perspective where these numbers land, if you go to the chart that kind of Geekbench provides, you can tell that it's definitely right under the Galaxy S23. Surprisingly, it actually performs slightly better than the Galaxy Z Fold. So that's also something to keep in mind. Similar story with the multi-core aspect of this phone. And overall, the performance on this phone is, as you would expect, just really solid. I didn't really have any major issues when it came to performance. This phone was consistently quick at doing and throwing any task I would at it. So browsing the web, going through social media, playing games, browsing through your articles, reading articles, and just the overall smoothness of the phone, also thanks to that 120Hz refresh rate, is just makes this phone just an enjoyable experience to use. Now, the disappointing part of all of this is that it only has a 4500 milliamp hour battery, which means battery life was not the best, but we do get wireless charging, so you kind of sacrifice a little bit of battery life for wireless charging. You tell me if it's worth it or not. And that's all for the performance aspect of this phone so far. So a little bit over 48 hours. So far, I'm really happy with the phone. I do want to get my comparisons in between the S21 and the S23 and the A54 and the S23 to see if it's finally worth it. So with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next one. Thank you all for watching.